I've been watching the Olympics. I'm not usually the celebratory type, but this has been truly marvelous. I am so impressed at so many levels that make me feel enriched by what I've seen and heard. We could start with Paris. I mean, it's just set in a special place on Earth, which is had a special meaning and vibration for generations of people in the civilized world, various kinds. So when you have an opening ceremony coming down, these boats coming down the Seine River and going past places like Notre Dame Cathedral, I mean that's pretty special. The Olympics superimpose, in a sense, on one of the world's great pieces of geography. And I've been watching this on NBC, and I'm just really blown away by how much creativity and skill has gone into the packaging of this thing. I mean, they spend, I don't know how much they spend, billions of dollars, I suppose, to get the exclusive rights to broadcast this to the United States and who knows who else. And they put a lot of work into this, and it's been of a very high quality. I have hardly any complaint about it. And a lot of it's been very creative and impressive. And also, so too, NBC is showing, in a sense, this whole way that the Olympics have been created as a athletic, multidimensional facilities. They've got a way of showing how these things have been put into the landscape, into this special city. There's this where the swimming is, and there's where the track is, and it's just a marvelous accomplishment that, all the way to Versailles, where they have the equestrian events. This is building this into one of the world's great cities. And they did a great job of it appears. So I'm impressed with Paris. The Paris we've always known is right there. And that gives us so much. And then there's the Paris that they've created for the Olympics, and that's quite an accomplishment. And then there's NBC. And finally, looking at the players, at the competitors, at these young people. I mean, nobody my age is competing, which is understandable, but sort of sad too. I mean, LeBron James is exactly half my age, and he's really, some people, it's marvelous that almost 40, he's able to do this. These are young people. They're young people who have developed their skills magnificently, whether it be speed or the ability to throw a 16-pound iron ball further than anybody else. These are people who have made themselves the best of something that they already were very gifted at in terms of athletic performance. And whole teams of people who learn to work with each other, like these volleyball games of people with lightning fast reflexes and such high levels of skill that they're able to do what they do with on that court. But there's another level besides just this excellence and world's best and GOAT and these young women who are able to break their own world records on the track. All that's fun. But I've also noticed that there's an unusual amount of human beauty on display here. Not every athlete is you know, magnificent. But in general, not surprisingly, since they've taken athletics to the nth degree of perfection, that the people who are running a 400 meter, the women who are running a 400 meter race, be of a particular build, and they will be fine specimens of that build. They're built to run well, and they have made themselves into an ideal. So it's not surprising that when you look at, say, the men running the 100-meter dash, these guys are really impressively put together. But there's something else that I've observed, and that's got to do with facial beauty. I believe the following to be true, that if you took a random group of people, even in that age group where people are in their prime, and even, I think, taking into account that they are healthy specimens, if you're given the assignment, how many of these people could you paint or take a photograph of as emblematic of human beauty? I mean, the way Rembrandt chose certain times of certain people, and the way like an African that he chose, that he did various portraits of, and Van, what's his name, the Dutch painter, the girl with the iron, the women whose faces he chooses, and in general, artists have chosen women's faces and men's faces that are in the direction of some kind of ideal. I mean, this is beauty. You know, a statue of Queen Nefertiti from the pyramid or whatever that thing was. You know, it is beauty there, and Michelangelo's David is standing there, and of body and face. I mean, he's just beautiful, and Rembrandt. No, not Rembrandt. Michelangelo was choosing an ideal to characterize. So if you ask somebody, out of these 100 women, how many people do you think, or these 100 men, how many people could you use in terms of just facial beauty, not whether they're, buff or not, like David is, that you could use as illustrating human beauty? My guess is that it wouldn't be nearly as many out of 100 as what you see on these Olympic athletes, whether they be pole vaulters or 200-meter racers or hurdlers or whatever. There are just a lot of really beautiful faces out there, men and women. And I wonder why that is. I mean, is it just because they're so healthy? Because they're vibrant? I mean, beauty is something that has got a lot of dimensions. And so if this woman that you see on the track having just won the gold is just a picture of beauty, or this man who's about to do the 110-meter hurdles, and you look at his face from the Caribbean or from Africa, and he's just, like beautiful. Is that because they're healthy animals, vibrant with life? I think it's more than that, and I'm a little bit puzzled by that, why that is. I think that genetically, there's a certain, in the human genetic lottery, there's a certain amount of connection between getting good cards of one suit and getting good cards of another suit. When I was in college with guys that got into highly selective college because they were very bright. I was surprised at how many of them were actually pretty athletic also. When my dorm fielded a razzle-dazzle touch football team, my teammates were people that you wouldn't expect to find. So many people who were athletically somewhat gifted out of the 64 people in the dorm. So I started thinking then that, and observing other examples of it that I don't remember right now, that things go together with in packages. You're more likely to be good looking if you're smart, and vice versa. Not a perfect correlation, but anyway, whatever the explanation is, one of the great delights of watching the Olympics is to see these people from around the world, these different versions of humankind, whether it's a black woman from Nigeria or Kenya, or a white man from Norway, or, well, you know what I'm saying, those Jamaican runners and these athletes from Asia that show a beauty of their kind. It just seems like it's a nice way to see our species, these people who are beautiful and accomplished and have shown a capacity to achieve, to maximize their gifts, which is something that we probably all are sort of called to do. But these guys are able to do it right out in front of us, which is why sports is such a thing. So the Olympics is a way of sort of discovering our humanity in a way, and our capacity for achievement, but in a way that is tangible enough that we can get into it experientially. I mean, somebody could be sitting down, realizing their gifts as a composer of music, but we don't participate in that process except by hearing the music, and that is, in fact, what we do. But here are these people embodying it. We don't look at Mozart when we're listening to his music, but we do look at Sha'Carri Richardson as a human body running down a track as she wins gold for the United States. And that's pretty elemental. And that brings up the whole issue of identification, which I've wrestled with all my life because I do it. I root for teams. And I'm completely aware that it makes no sense. There's nothing rational about it. So I went to high school in Minnesota, so I should care whether the Minnesota Vikings win or lose on a given Sunday? Well, I do. I had a boyhood in East Lansing, Michigan, where my dad got his first job. And I got to go with him to Michigan State football games out in this exciting stadium with the bands playing and the cigar smoke and the world's best, the U.S. best college football team, the home team, on its 28-game winning streak. And I still root for Michigan State. What sense does that make? But I do it. And it's a meaningful thing to do. I mean, if I'm watching an athletic event and I don't care who wins, it's not the same thing. the identification is the means of enacting something, not just as an observer, but as a vicarious participant. And so we strive with them. And so part of why I think this has been a wonderful Olympics is that the United States has been doing really well. I mean, we lead in, at this moment, we're just shy of China on how many golds there are, but we're way out in front of everybody with how many medals we got. And if I watch a heat and there's no stars and stripes in the presentation, no American contending, well, I might want to watch, hear a little bit of what they got to say, but I don't have the same thrill as when my guys, USA, USA. So that's part of what I get. Putting my heart out in identification with these people who are representing our country, the United States of America. And then I think, what sense does that make? But that's the way it is. But I also do, I do try to expand my sense of the humanity out there so that it's not just my guys that I recognize for their qualities. It's not just trying to defeat them, but I have some trouble getting all the way there. But I do have a lot of feeling about good sportsmanship, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of it from our American. But there's a lot of it with the women's gymnastics, Simone Biles and her gang. That whole world of these gifted, short, young, mostly female gymnasts who were congratulating each other and consoling each other and giving them each other these cursory hugs for the other team as well, as if they felt that they were all in this thing together. I kind of like that. I like good sportsmanship, and I like it on the track when the person I saw somebody who had expected to win come in second to, I think, an American. I don't remember what the race was. And the person who came in second congratulated the one who won in a way that wasn't just perfunctory. It was like, I'm really happy for you. Oh, and I remember in the swimming pool, there was a contest of, I think, 800 meters where an American, her name, geez. And then the Australian's name is Titmus. And it was known that these two were going to be battling it out, and they did indeed battle it out. And the race didn't go exactly like the commentator thought. It turned out that the American, what's her name? She's going to be the standard bearer in the closing ceremonies. I can't remember. She's from the Washington, D.C. area. That the two of them who had finished 1-2 with the Australian who had already won, I think, a couple of golds, but she came in second, which is disappointing for her. And she seemed genuinely open and warm and celebratory with the American next to her, who just she's the distance. Ledecky, is that her name? She's the distance runner. She wins the 1500, but at the 800, there's a question of will the shorter distance person or the longer distance person dominate? And the American won. And I love seeing that sportsmanship. Because even though we do identify with our us, we can't lose sight of there are other human beings here on the track. I remember there was a race recently where the Jamaicans, I think it was a multi-person kind of a thing. So it wasn't just one runner who would be disappointed to be not in the medaling in the event, and that I think the Jamaicans did not come in the top three, and that was a big disappointment for them. And I believe the Americans probably won. That's the kind of situation where I was really wanting the Americans to sort of go out of their way to sort of give a little support from the heart of, understanding. There was a race in which where an American beat a Jamaican individual, and that was also a disappointment, as I recall. I'd like to see the Jamaican's name is Parchment. I recall. I don't remember which of our great American runners it was. But there is another human being there who feels stuff that we kind of know what it is because we've heard from Americans, for example, who have not recovered fully from getting the bronze in Tokyo when they really felt like they should have won the gold. We know what that feeling is, and when we bring humankind together in the Olympics, what are we doing? It isn't just about covering one's own country with glory. The whole idea of the Olympics has to do with peace in the world. That's what the Greeks were doing when they started this thing. I guess the idea was that they were continually involved in these city-states, were continually involved in wars, one place or another, of these various cities. I don't know exactly how true that was, but there definitely were wars. And the Olympics were created by the Greeks on Mount Olympus to lay aside the hostilities and the butchery that goes on in an anarchic world, and create a zone in which they can do what the Olympics are, which is both competitive and mutually celebratory. It was a way of calling up maybe the better world. Still competition, but not shedding blood. We are still wrestling with the problems that the Greek city-states were wrestling with, that we've got. Well, the Russians are not in this Olympics because their violation of world peace was of such an unacceptable magnitude and kind that they were uninvited to this place where we're supposed to be able to celebrate, world peace, like they say in Groundhog Day. The coming together of these nations, I bet it's like this for the athletes. I'd like to know more about that. I haven't heard NBC asking these questions, but how are their relationships? How is their feeling about the other people on this planet been affected by being out here and competing with them, also living with them, also being in the Olympic Village with them? Do they come away with any more sense of, we're all in this together? Well, that would be nice. I think we need to at least articulate more completely that there is a constructive purpose for these Olympics that isn't just about winning medals. That, like with the Greeks who were beset by so many unpleasant things happening in their world. We need to aspire to something which is beautiful to behold, in which excellence is displayed, not just something where cruelty and brutality and selfishness and greed and like that get to shape the human world. The Olympics is a little microcosm that we create. And we create it as a way of channeling our competition. But let's not lose sight of how important it is that we combine this fan that I am of the United States with a sense of genuine commonality and goodwill and caring that we extend to our fellow human beings who live outside the boundaries of the USA. I don't think that I'm the most enlightened person in that respect, but I do believe in it. And I think the ability to see our fellow human beings as our fellow human beings is important. The right wing has these days got this book out that's talking about the unhuman nature of people on the other political side, which would include me. We've seen where it goes when we've got master races and subhuman races. The Olympics is importantly an attempt to expand our sense of ourselves as being part of this species. The Greeks were all Greeks, even if they were at war with each other. We are all human beings, even if we have wars and other less violent forms of conflict. And even if we're living under the shadow that our wars might yet destroy the whole experiment of human civilization on Earth. So it's important to envision other ways the world could be, and the Olympics is one of them. We should spend a little more attention on the spiritual meaning and the political meaning and the fundamental values level of meaning. The Olympics is expressing. Well, I've loved this experience, and it shows me some of my own shortcomings. Us versus them, too much. But I also do love the beauty of these people from other countries and their achievements, and I care about their feelings. It puts me into a frame of mind in which if I were to sit down at a table to negotiate a treaty, I would bring goodwill. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, if you like this, please subscribe, follow. Look at my collection of videos about various things about the human drama in this world and the challenges that we face as a species that may or may not survive for the long haul as a civilized species on this planet. And if you want to see how all kinds of pictures get put together into an integrated portrayal of the forces at work shaping the human story, please go to my website, abetterhumanstory.org, where my life's work has been putting that kind of integrated picture together. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying the Olympics too. It's not too late if you haven't been paying attention. Okay.